5.4 notable scholar. First one is coming Rene Descartes. S is silent. 1596 to 1650. What he said, my children, that was the foremost among the scholar who insisted on verifying the reliability of the historical documents by critically examining them among the rules given by him in his book Discourse in the Method. So remember the book which is written by him, Discourse on the Method. See here what he said, scholar, whatever information we are getting, we ask the question. We should ask the question and critically examine. So should not accept blindly. According to Rene Descartes, means we should not accept blindly, but always ask the question and clear your doubts. According to the Rene Descartes, that whenever you are writing the history, never to accept anything for truth till all grounds of the doubts are excluded. Means never accept anything in the history where first you clear all the doubts what you are having by asking the question, by getting the proof of that, and always search for the proof. Next one is coming the Voltaire. Already you have learned in the 8th standard also. So what was the original name of the Voltaire? Francois Marie Arouet. Okay, Arouet. He was a French. He was, you know, that Voltaire was a great follower of Vedas. He read all the 4 Vedas of our country, or you can say he opined. What he opined, that along with objective truth and chronology of historical events, considering social tradition, trade, economy, agriculture, etc. was also equally important in historiography. According to him, what he was saying, that objective, chronological is important, one sequence is important, one event after another event, but by studying that also, what points you should remember, you should also learn what kind of the society was there, what kind of the you can say business they were carry out, what kind of the traditions were prevailed in those days, then what kind of the economy was there, whether the barter, coins, exchanging, whatever it may be, what kind of the agriculture, what kind of the food crops they were growing. So these all the things are also important if we are studying of a particular time history or a particular society. It gave rise to the thought that understanding all aspects of the human life is important for history writing. All aspects. Suppose, as earlier he said, chronology is important, one event after, but that during that event, what kind of the activities were taken place, what kind of the society was there, what kind of the people, what kind of the problems were there. So all these things are also given should be given equal weightage. So that's why it is said that the Voltaire was the founder of modern historiography. He was saying that political, if you are writing, you are covering any kind of a history about 2 kings fighting, their valor is not important, but behind that reason also you find out what kind of the kings they were, unka empire kaisa tha, how their people were there, what kind of the trade were there, what were the reasons. So don't accept anything blindly. Next one is coming George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. So what he says, that see, Hegel was a German philosopher. He insisted that the historical reality should be presented in a logical manner. Logical means you can say with the reasons or with a proof. To him, the timeline of historical events was indicative of progress. See, suppose today, from last year in history, what we have learned, from landline to today digital phone, or you can say the cell phone. How we progress. This timeline is also very important. This timeline indicates the progress bar of a human life. First, previously in ancient civilization, what we were not aware of the fire. Afterwards, as we progress time to time, new inventions we did. So these invention shows, or these new things which we made, or which we inculcate, or you can say we founded, or we carry out the experiment and we made for our life. So that shows the human progress. He also thought that the presentation of history is bound to change over the time as new evidence would come forth. See, today I am writing the history of suppose anything, Shivaji Maharaj or whatever. If I give you example, see, today whatever evidence I have and I am writing the history of that. Suppose it was said that Mohenjo-daro and Harappan civilization was the ancient civilization, but after writing this we got the evidence that there was an ancient civilization on the bank of river Saraswati. So evidence, whatever history we are writing, it may change from time to time. New events are, new evidences are coming, and that evidence is giving the new shape to the history. So yeah, with the Hegel's philosophy, many scholars were convinced that historical methods were not of lesser quality, though they differed from scientific method. See, historical methods were not of lesser quality, though they different from scientific methods. Historical methods are different and science are different. Here he says, then the collection of his lectures and articles is published in the book entitled Encyclopedia of Philosophical Science. His book Reason of in History is well known. So always remember all these things. See, again I said that George William Frederick, what he wants to say, whatever evidences we with the help of evidences today's history we are writing, it may change tomorrow, new evidences may come. So we cannot say that here historical method were not of lesser quality, though they differed from the scientific. As earlier when I started the lesson, I said that historical methods are different and cannot be carry out their experiment in a physical lab, and whether the scientific methods experiment can be carried out in a physical laboratory. So that's why he says that history may change after sometimes if we get new evidence, but it cannot remain constant. But scientific method may remain constant time to time, irrespective of time and space. So next slide. That here it is good to know this. What according to the Hegel, he says that according to the Hegel, grasping the meaning of any event happens in the term of two direct opposites. Two opposites means if we are writing a history, we should consider positive and negative things. We should consider the positive and negative things. Don't study from one angle. When we are studying anything, we should not study from one angle. We should take the two angles, that is a negative and positive, and always ask the questions. Human mind cannot understand the true nature of that event without understanding the opposite. Human nature you cannot understand without carry out these two research, without studying the two angles, that is one is negative, one is positive. If we take one example over here, can say Babur attacked the Babur of the Afghan attacked India. Okay, he attacked India, so he is called as a villain over here, and in Afghanistan he will be called as a hero. So these are the positive and negative things. Suppose you can take the example of Britishers. So Britishers, they ruled over India 150 years. So in their country they will be called as a hero, or you can say they will their negative aspect will be taken, and here we will take the negative aspect. So history we cannot study with the one angle. We have to take into consideration that is two angle, that is a negative and positive. For example, true, false, good, bad, etc. In order to understand the true nature of a thing, one needs to know both true and false. If you want to really understand the nature of particular things, so you consider both the natures, both the angles, that is positive or negative. Positive or negative, and ask the question always. These methods of analysis which is based on opposite is not dialects, dialogue. What is the meaning of dialects? Dialogues. When the dialogues carry out on positive and negative, this method is known as dialects. In this method a theory is proposed at the beginning which is called thesis. Matlab after the dialogue, whatever theory we are taking, that is a thesis. Thesis means you can see what is assumption. On the base of assumption we are proposing the thesis. Then another theory is proposed which contrary to the thesis. Thesis means assumption, positive things, and opposite to the thesis, what do we call? Antithesis. After thorough logical discussion of the both, a new thesis is proposed which includes the gist of both thesis and antithesis as shown in the picture. Thesis and antithesis together called synthesis, you can say, proposed which includes the gist of both. This thesis and antithesis, this process of arriving at the new thesis is called antithesis. First is thesis, that is a positive. Antithesis means negative assumption. So both together, combined together, are called synthesis. So this is the definition given by the Hegel. Okay children, then coming to the next one, that is Leopold von Ranke. So historiography of 19th century was greatly influenced by the thoughts of Leopold van Ranke of Berlin University. He spoke about the critical method of historical research. He put emphasis on the utmost importance of the information gathered through original document. What he said, whatever information, whatever history you are writing, you should gather correct information through the original document. He also stated that all types of documents associated with the historical events need to be examined. You should not accept them blindly. They should be your doubt. Before writing, all the doubt should be clear. Prepare evidence for that with the greatest care. He believed that with the possible to reach the historical truth, he criticized imaginative narration of history. Before 18th century, what we were writing, imaginative, whatever kalpana se bhari hui. Just how we are fiction, you can say, how we are watching the film, that are the imaginative stories. So in history, this should not be done. Collection of these articles published in 2 books entitled The Theory and Practice of History and The Secret of World History. So you remember the book which is written by, and till that, bye, and next session we will take the another scholar.